So you've got a fat wallet and a need for speed? Great. But before you burn your hard-earned cash on two wheels that ride like shopping carts and break down faster than your New Year's resolutions, watch this video. We're diving headfirst into 15 motorcycles you should absolutely avoid, unless you enjoy wasting money, swearing at roadside mechanics, and explaining to your buddies why your bike's in the shop again. Number 15. Harley-Davidson Street 750. The Street 750, Harley's answer to the younger crowd. Lighter, cheaper, more urban, they said. But what it really became was a lesson in cutting corners. Sure, it's a Harley. It's got that badge, that sound, sort of. But once you dig past the logo, the problems start stacking up like unpaid speeding tickets. The build quality feels more scooter than cruiser, with cheap plastic finishes, awkward ergonomics, and a riding position that'll make your knees and back file a formal complaint after 30 minutes. But that legendary Harley torque is not here. The 749 capital cc setter's liquid-cooled Revolution X engine sounds decent on paper, but on the road, it's sluggish, especially in city traffic. Twist the throttle and you'll get more noise than motion. It's not just slow, it's uninspiring, like drinking decaf when you ordered espresso. And don't get me started on the brakes. They're mushy, they're vague. They make you hope more than stop. And the stock tires? You'd be better off riding on garden hoses. In fact, Harley discontinued the Street 750 in several markets. That's how well it went over. Unless you're a collector of Harley misfires or you enjoy being the slowest thing at bike night, keep your money in your pocket. But even as this was such a disaster, a Japanese brand once built a bike they had no idea what to do with. Can you guess what this bike was? Number 14, Suzuki B King, the beast no one wanted. On paper, the Suzuki B King sounds like the second coming of two-wheeled terror. Built around the Hayabusa engine, this thing had power for days, a beefy stance, and futuristic styling. But in reality, it was a loud, heavy, and confused mess. Suzuki tried to market the B King as a muscle bike, a street fighter, a naked Hayabusa. Pick one, guys. The end result was a motorcycle that didn't know what it wanted to be, and neither did anyone else. Let's talk weight. Over 550 pounds wet. That's a whole lot of metal to be muscling around, especially when you're stuck in traffic looking like a Decepticon. In the exhausts are massive twin pipes that look like they were borrowed from a spaceship. They added bulk, heat, and weight, all for a sound that didn't live up to the hype. Sure, it's fast. But fast doesn't matter when you feel like you're steering a runaway barbecue grill. Add in a premium price tag, limited practicality, and zero aftermarket love, and you've got a bike that was DOA at the showroom. Even Suzuki seemed to give up on it before the paint dried. So unless you're into weird flexes, awkward attention, and dropping money on a collector's item that nobody's collecting, avoid this bike. And if you think this is bad, what about a bike that seems they only thought about halfway through? Number 13, Ducati Scrambler 800, style over sense. At first glance, the Ducati Scrambler 800 looks like the kind of bike you'd see parked outside a hip cafe, flanked by craft beer and beard oil. And honestly, that's exactly what it was built for. Because if you're looking for reliability or comfort, kindly look elsewhere. Ducati wanted to build a retro-styled entry-level bike. But what we got was a pricey toy with meh suspension, clunky throttle response, and build quality that makes you double-check your bolts every ride. The air-cooled L-twin engine is decent until it starts cooking your legs like bacon in July traffic. And oh boy, the vibration. At certain RPMs, this thing rattles like it's trying to shake itself apart. Long rides? Forget it. Your wrists, your butt, and your back will all be filing complaints with HR. Then there's the electronics or lack thereof. Limited rider aids, no cruise control, and a dash so basic you'd think it was ripped off a 2002 lawnmower. The worst part is that despite being entry-level, it's not cheap. You're paying Ducati money for a bike that performs like something from the bargain bin. Sure, it looks cool in Instagram photos, but so does a flaming dumpster if you frame it right. Unless you're buying this as a fashion accessory or a prop for your influencer girlfriend, This Scrambler's more style over substance than you bargained for. There's another reliable Japanese tourer that breaks hearts. You know, just in case you're looking for the perfect separation present. Number 12. Kawasaki Concor's 14. The Kawasaki Concor's 14 used to be a respectable touring machine. Back in the late 2000s, it was even a contender in the sport touring segment. But in 2025, this thing's more relic than road king. First problem is the obsolete tech. The world moved on to TFT screens, advanced rider aids, adaptive cruise. Meanwhile, the Concours is still rocking a dash that looks like it was yanked from a 90s alarm clock. No Apple CarPlay, no electronic suspension, nothing modern, just a big, thirsty dinosaur pretending it's still relevant. Then there's the weight, 690 pounds fully loaded. You don't ride this thing, you wrestle it. At parking lot speeds, it feels like you're pushing a fridge uphill. And don't even think about low-speed maneuvers unless you've been hitting the gym and the chiropractor. Heat management is laughable. That big 1352cc engine, borrowed from the ZX14, throws off so much heat you could roast marshmallows under your thighs in city traffic. Also, transmission issues. Some owners have reported second gear failure on a tourer, on long rides. That's just annoying. And guess what? Kawasaki hasn't really used this bike in over a decade. If you want a proper tourer, look to the future. The Concours 14 is stuck in the past and it's dragging your wallet with it. But then again, even as you look to the future, there are bikes that have been touted as German precision, only to go way off the mark. Number 11. BMW F800 GS. The BMW F800 GS. The baby GS that promised off-road thrills with German precision. But here's the truth they won't tell you at the dealership. This thing is a maintenance-laden, rattle-trap nightmare disguised as an adventure bike. Let's start with the parallel twin engine. It sounds like a sewing machine with bronchitis and delivers vibrations you can feel in your fillings. Ride this thing for more than an hour and your hands will go numb, your mirrors will go blurry, and your patience will vanish into the wilderness. Next up, build quality that's shockingly underwhelming for a BMW. Plastic parts fade, bolts back out. The stock seat feels like it was made of wood. And let's not forget the infamous rear wheel bearing failures, which can leave you stranded in the middle of nowhere, wondering why you didn't just buy a Honda. And if you think servicing it will be easy, BMW tax is real. Every oil change feels like a mortgage payment, and God forbid you actually drop it. Repairs cost more than a weekend in Vegas. So unless your idea of adventure includes trailside breakdowns and high blood pressure, this one's a hard no. Like what you're hearing? We're just getting warmed up. Hit that like button if you've ever regretted a bike purchase and subscribe so you never get burned again. Now strap in, because we're going straight into a cruiser that tried to copy Harley and ended up copying the worst parts. Number 10. Honda Fury. Let's all take a moment and ask, what was Honda thinking? The Honda Fury looks like it rode straight out of a 2008 midlife crisis. Long, low, raked out forks. Big 21-inch front wheel. Fake chopper attitude. But under all that flashy chrome is a bike that forgot what it means to be functional. First off, handling. The Fury corners like a kayak. That front rake makes low-speed turns feel like a balancing act on stilts. You'll look cool until the parking lot claims your dignity. Power is mediocre. The 1312cc V-twin should pack a punch, but it's been so tuned down for emissions and smoothness that it feels like a pit bull on Xanax. Twist the throttle and you get a lot of noise and eventually some motion. Comfort? Nope. That stretched out riding position looks great in brochures, but after 30 minutes your back will be screaming, your arms will ache, and you'll wonder if maybe you should have just bought the Goldwing like your cousin. And the custom chopper styling with zero customization support. Try finding aftermarket parts. Try modding it without a degree in blacksmithing. Good luck. This was Honda's attempt to say, we can be wild too, but instead of rebellious, it just came off as corporate cosplay. And speaking about cosplay, if we're being honest, there are bikes that have perfected the art of being badass, looking retro and turning heads at the same time. Number 9. Yamaha YZFR3. Remember what I said earlier about being badass, turning heads and looking retro? This bike is the exact opposite. Yamaha's YZFR3 is marketed as the perfect entry-level sport bike. Lightweight, approachable, and just enough power to learn on. And if you're 17, under 5 feet 6, and have zero interest in actually going fast, sure, this might be your jam. But for anyone with riding experience, expectations, or a pulse, this thing is a letdown in a racing suit. The R3's 321cc twin-cylinder engine makes around 40 horsepower. That's about as thrilling as a lawnmower on Red Bull. Twist the throttle and you'll get a lot of noise, a whole lot of waiting, and then maybe a bit of speed if you're going downhill with the wind behind you. The ride is twitchy, lightweight, and not in a good way. On the freeway, it feels like you're clinging to a leaf during a thunderstorm. Crosswinds will toss you around like popcorn, and bigger bikes will blow past you like you're riding backward. Then there's the build. Cheap plastics. Dated analog digital dash. Suspension that bottoms out if you look at a pothole too hard. And if you're thinking of using it for two-up riding, the pillion seat is more of a suggestion than an actual seat. The price? You're paying close to $6,000 for something that struggles to keep up with traffic. If you're buying it because it looks like an R1, you're better off buying a poster of an R1 and saving yourself the disappointment. If you're searching for more disappointment, remember the legendary bike your granddad boasts about? There's been an upgrade, sort of. Number 8. Indian Scout 60. Let's set the stage. Indian, a name soaked in motorcycle legend, classic lines, American muscle, soul, grit. But then came the Scout 60, and suddenly it felt like someone at Polaris asked, how cheap can we make heritage feel? It's supposed to be a lighter, more affordable entry point into the Indian lineup. What it really is, a watered-down cruiser with training wheels. Yes, it looks nice. That's how it gets you. But once you swing a leg over, the truth hits hard. First off, no standard ABS on a modern bike. For over 10 grand out the door. In 2025, that's like selling a new truck without airbags because it keeps the retro feel. Unacceptable. The engine is a 999cc Series V-twin, that's okay, but you'll feel the lack of torque compared to the bigger Scouts, and the gearing's just weird. It feels confused between being a cruiser and a commuter. Handling is not bad. Until you hit a bump and realize the suspension's built like a brick on pogo sticks. If your local roads are anything less than glass smooth, your spine's about to learn some new curse words. And service? Polaris parts pricing will have you questioning every life decision. This isn't the Scout of your grandfather's dreams. This is the diet soda version. All the branding, none of the bite. Number 7. KTM 790 Duke. The KTM 790 Duke was marketed as the scalpel. Sharp, precise, ready to carve up the streets. But let me tell you, this thing might be sharp, but sometimes it feels like it's slicing through your bank account, your patience, and your sanity. Let's start with that engine. 799cc parallel twin, punchy on paper, but in real life, it's snappy to the point of twitchy, especially in low-speed urban traffic. You twist the throttle just a little, and suddenly you're lunging like a caffeinated kangaroo. Fun? Sometimes. Predictable? Nope. And then there's the electronics package. Impressive features, traction control, cornering ABS, ride modes, but temperamental as hell. Riders have reported random error codes, faulty sensors, and ride-by-wire throttle glitches that show up uninvited like your ex at bike night. Add to that a seat that might as well be carved from plywood, and you've got a bike that's thrilling for about 30 minutes. Before your back, wrists, and soul start begging for mercy, reliability is questionable. KTM's notorious for inconsistent quality control, and on the 790 it shows. There's a reason many owners trade up or trade out within a year. Oh, and did I mention the weird clunky gearbox? Yeah, shifting should feel smooth. This feels like you're kicking a toolbox down a staircase. The 790 Duke tries to be raw, aggressive, and edgy, and it succeeds, but not always in the ways you want. Number 6. Yamaha VMax. The Yamaha VMax is a legend, no doubt. A straight-line monster with a 1,679cc V4 engine that sounds like it wants to eat lesser bikes for breakfast. But once you get past that glorious growl, reality hits, and it hits hard. Let's start with the weight. Over 680 pounds. That's not just heavy, it's cruiser heavy with sport bike pretensions. Riding this thing in the city is like taking a freight train to pick up groceries. Now sure, it launches like a bat out of hell. 0 to 60, fast. Roll-ons, terrifying. But try leaning it into a corner and it suddenly turns into a slab of granite on wheels. The steering is heavy, the balance is awkward, and the whole thing feels like it's actively resisting your attempt to turn. The fuel range is hilarious. A 3.9-gallon tank for a near 1700cc motor? Hope you like fuel stops every 100 miles, because that's your new hobby. And as for comfort, you'd think a muscle cruiser would be all about long hauls, but nope. The seat's flat, the ride's stiff, and the heat off that V4 in traffic is enough to roast your inner thighs like Sunday brisket. And let's talk price. You're looking at $18,000 plus for a bike that looks like it came from Mad Max, handles like a barge, and drinks like a sailor. If you want brute power and nothing else, go ahead. But if you want a balanced, usable motorcycle, avoid. We're officially in the top 5 worst value motorcycles. These are the ones that really make you want to scream into your helmet, sell your gear, and take up knitting. On this list of bikes to avoid, there is another beloved dual sport that's still being sold in 2025, but with 1995 features. Number 5, Suzuki DRZ400S. The Suzuki DRZ400S is still in showrooms in 2025. Let that sink in. This bike is so old, it still thinks The Matrix is cutting-edge cinema. It hasn't seen a major update since George Bush was in office. And yet Suzuki keeps slapping on bold new graphics and pretending it's a modern dual sport. Here's the cold, greasy truth. It's a carbureted, air-cooled, kick-in-the-teeth time capsule. Want to ride at elevation? Good luck. Enjoy cold starts, grab some coffee and wait. Want fuel injection? Too bad. This bike is living in full Y2K denial. The seat is unholy levels of pain. It's so narrow and hard it feels like sitting on a fence post during an earthquake. The suspension? Way too soft if you're doing anything more aggressive than riding to the gas station. And the power delivery is clunky, inconsistent, and downright sleepy by today's standards. And what do they charge for this? Around $7 grand, before you even add a skid plate or decent tires. That's almost criminal when you look at what you can get from KTM, Honda, or even the Chinese market for the same cash. Sure, it's bulletproof if you never push it. But so is a brick. Doesn't mean you want to ride one. The only thing more outdated than the DRZ400S is the belief that it's still worth the money. Are you looking at a financial black hole on 2 wheels? Are you looking for a pretentious legend that is after your wallet alone? Then look no further. This one's gonna sting for the city boys who thought they were buying a smart commuter. Number 4, Honda PCX 160. This is a scooter that bleeds your wallet silently. You thought you were being practical, economical, smart. You looked at the Honda PCX 160 and said, yeah, that's all I need. Wrong. This is the scooter that pretends to save you money, but over time, it nickels and dimes you into madness. It's not loud about it, it's just quietly draining your wallet while you're busy sipping iced coffee and feeling superior in traffic. First off, it's way overpriced for what it offers. Nearly $4,000 for a 150cc scooter that struggles to keep up with highway traffic? That's insanity in a world where you can buy a used Ninja 300 or a Rebel 500 for the same cash and actually go places. And yeah, it gets good mileage. Until you realize the maintenance schedule is annoyingly frequent. Parts aren't as cheap as you'd expect, and you'll be paying dealership labor rates to swap rollers and belts like it's a fashion trend. Storage is barely enough for a helmet and a banana. 2-up comfort? Forget it. Suspension? Feels like riding a pogo stick on gravel. Acceleration? You'll get smoked by a 10-year-old pizza delivery bike. And don't get us started on resale. Buyers know better. The second you roll this off the lot, it loses value faster than a crypto meme. Unless you just want a scooter to flex on TikTok, the PCX 160 is all hype. No hustle and zero long-term value. This Honda isn't the only bike that made use of hype to oversell itself to riders. Kawasaki used YouTube reviews for a long time to sell a classic beginner bike that's been overrated for years and still fools new riders into buying it. Number 3. Kawasaki Ninja 400. You've seen the YouTube reviews, you've heard the hype. Everyone says the Kawasaki Ninja 400 is the perfect beginner bike, but it's not anymore. The Ninja 400 was once a great deal, but in 2025 it's become an overpriced, overhyped, overpromised money drain. Let's start with the price. This thing now pushes $6,000 out the door. For that, you could score a used MT-07, a CB500X, or even a lightly used SV650. Bikes that will grow with you, not make you want to upgrade 3 months in. It is Starter Power 400, but you'll outgrow it faster than your first apartment. By the time you finish your first long ride, you'll be dreaming of more torque, more pull, more anything. And comfort, it's built like a toy racer. Low bars, high pegs. That sporty feel turns into back pain and wrist cramps on any ride longer than 30 minutes. Then there's the build quality. You start to notice the thin plastics, the budget suspension, the twitchy throttle, the mab brakes, and suddenly it doesn't feel like a scaled-down superbike. It feels like a compromise in full neon green. The worst part is that dealers know this bike is trendy, so they crank up the fees, slap on markups, and upsell you starter gear like it's a luxury package. Unless you're 5'2", featherweight, and allergic to acceleration, there are better options for your first ride. Number 2. Yamaha Bolt R-Spec. The Yamaha Bolt R-Spec wants to be a stripped-down street bobber with attitude. Low seat height, solo saddle, chopped fenders. It's got the looks, but twist the throttle and reality slaps back real fast. The 942cc air-cooled V-twin is, okay, it sounds good at idle, but on the road, it runs out of steam faster than a middle school track team. The power delivery is lazy, the gearing feels mismatched, and you'll swear you're dragging an anchor every time you try to pass someone on the highway. Ergonomics? It's low and compact, but in a way that punishes your knees, hips, and tailbone if you're taller than 5'6", and the seat is as soft as a bowling ball wrapped in denim. It vibrates at speed, has mediocre suspension, and cornering clearance is practically non-existent. You'll be scraping pegs turning into your own driveway. Oh, and for all that retro style, there's no gear indicator, no fuel gauge, and barely any tech. But they'll still charge you north of $8,500 just to feel cool. Look, if you want a stylish cruiser that handles like a modern bike, the Bolt ain't it. It's trying too hard to be a Harley without the heritage or muscle. It's a good idea that needed more torque and way more brains. And now we've come to the bike that caps it all. The one that will sneak the funds out of your wallet while promising you heaven on wheels. A royal disaster once you ride with little to no horsepower. Ladies and gents, say hello to our number 1 on the list. Number 1. Royal Enfield Himalayan. The Royal Enfield Himalayan wants you to believe it's a go-anywhere machine. Tall front fender, crash bars, rugged looks. It screams expedition ready, but once you actually ride it beyond a cafe parking lot, you'll realize something ugly. This bike doesn't belong anywhere it claims to go. Let's start with the engine. It's a wheezy 411cc single-cylinder lump that makes just 24 horsepower. That's barely enough to keep pace with traffic. If you weigh over 180 pounds and pack any luggage, you'll be preying on hills and holding up traffic on the freeway. At altitude, good luck. And even if you accept that it's slow, the vibrations will test your will to live. The bars, the pegs, the mirrors, everything buzzes. 65 miles per hour. It feels like the bike is trying to shake itself apart, and at full throttle, which is often, it's loud, breathless, and straining like a mule on its last mile. Let's talk about off-road. Despite its tall stance, the Himalayan is heavy, 440 plus pounds wet, and top-heavy at that. It has mediocre suspension travel, soft damping, and poor clearance. Try riding it aggressively on rough terrain, and you'll be greeted by a clang as it bottoms out. The stock tires are useless in mud. The brakes are spongy and unimpressive, especially when things get technical. You're constantly battling the bike, not the trail. And what about reliability? Well, that's the Russian roulette part. Some Himalayans are fine, others come with electrical gremlins, busted fuel pumps, mysterious stalling, loose bolts, cracked frames, and random sensor failures. For a motorcycle that markets itself as a global adventurer, it spends a suspicious amount of time on the side of the road. Let's not forget the dash cluster with the infamous analog compass that never points north, the fuel gauge that lies more than a used car salesman, and a gear shifter that occasionally decides neutral is just a concept. Royal Enfield loyalists will say, well, it's about character. Sure, if unpredictability, underperformance, and unwanted breakdowns count as character. So why is it the worst? Because it lies. It seduces budget-minded dreamers with talk of adventure and rugged simplicity. But the truth is, the Himalayan is a bike that looks ready to conquer the world, but barely survives your morning commute. And that's just disappointing. And hey, before you vanish into the YouTube void, do yourself a favor and click on the next video. If you had fun, hit that like button, like it just cut you off in traffic. And don't forget to subscribe. This channel runs on caffeine, bad decisions, and your support. Catch you in the next one.